Hello everybody, welcome to another Microsoft Reactor stream. My name is Sarah Guthals and I've been having problems streaming lately, so I'm not going to have my camera on today. Apologies for that, but hopefully with no camera we'll have fewer issues. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Azure and Power BI. I'm fairly new to Power BI, so I'm excited about it. But today we're going to talk a little bit about how to build a simple little Python Jupyter Notebook thing and call Azure Cognitive Search, record all those metrics, and hopefully be able to see them in Power BI. I do have the chat open, so feel free to send messages in the chat. I am also, to try to help with bandwidth, I've reduced my screen resolution, and so I have chat on my phone, so if it's a little delayed, I apologize. All right, so to get started, we're going to jump into the browser, and you can see that I'm in my Azure portal. I'm actually not going to jump into that quite yet. I'm actually going to head back to Power BI. So Power BI is a really amazing tool for visualizing data. So if I were to search, and sorry, I meant to zoom in a bit more. If I were to search for Power BI, powerbi.microsoft.com, and actually Megan is in the chat, I believe. If you wouldn't mind trying to help me paste some of these links in the chat, just because I am on my phone for the chat for today. I'll get better at this, assuming this stream works fine. I'll get a second monitor for it, but for today, if you wouldn't mind helping me out. But powerbi.microsoft.com sends you into kind of like our product facing page. And the really neat thing is, like I said, it just allows you to visualize a lot of different types of data in a way that is like you can dive deep into it, you can explore it, you can share it with other people, you can bring in data from multiple sources, you can have data auto streaming into Power BI. It's just an incredible tool. As someone who loves Excel and just kind of like playing around in Excel, it's a tool that I've been excited to start to learn about a little bit more. Power BI is part of the Power Platform at Microsoft, which has a lot of other applications as well that you can check out. Yeah, so the first thing that we're going to do today is, like I said, we're going to build a simple little Python app to populate our data so that Power BI has something to look at. Before we do that, though, I wanted to show you a couple of the really neat things that I have personally been discovering around bringing data from live kind of developer related sources into Power BI. So the first thing that I did was from the home page, actually, and sorry, still trying to get used to all of this. I just went into my workspace here, and here's the home page, and I just created a workspace. I clicked create workspace. That just had me give it a name. Okay, so that's all I've done so far. And the workspace that I created was this one, August 24 stream. And right now there's nothing in it. There's no content. There's no episode. Like there's just kind of nothing in it. You can create a pipeline. It looks like in preview, absolutely nothing in here. Let me zoom in a little bit. As I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do this stream to introduce kind of the Azure piece to it, I did discover something kind of neat, and I wanted to share it with you. So you can bring in, these are kind of like, a lot of these are around once you already have the data, but the bottom four here, or really kind of like the data set, the streaming data set, and the upload a file, these are kind of where your data comes from. And like I mentioned, your data can come from a number of places. When I clicked on create a data set, there's some obvious things that you can do if you have a file, whether it's from Power BI Desktop, if you're using that. By the way, I'm using the one that's just in the browser, as I think you can see, or a CSV file, Excel, etc. You can bring it in from a database. Note that Azure SQL database, kind of bringing it in from there, does require Power BI Desktop, not the web version. You can also do some data flows. You can bring in data from your organization. So for example, I'm in my Microsoft account, so I could bring in Microsoft data here. But this is the one that I think is just really phenomenal. This is bringing in data from apps, from online services that you might use. So if I click on this, I get a pop-up that has a few template apps, which is kind of cool. So if you are into, for example, COVID tracking, we have some sample data sets from there that you can start to just kind of build reports around and start to understand it a little bit better. We have a sample retail analysis, M365 usage if you're doing something to try to track that kind of usage, NFL analytics, QuickBooks, etc. But one of the neat ones, if you don't know, I actually come from Github. That's where I was before I joined Microsoft. And they do have this newer one, which is a GitHub repository usage, which I thought was really neat, because when you click on it, you can basically start to see analytics from a GitHub repo that you have access to. So when you're bringing in these apps for Power BI, they're kind of like, at least this is how I see it coming from the background of a developer. I see these as just basically like extensions to my editor. If I think of Power BI as an editor, I can think of these apps as extensions to that editor and ways I can visualize and interact with my editor. Visualize data and interact with my editor. So just like in VS Code, I might click Get It Now, like installing the extension into my environment. And when I do that, it'll take me to a kind of wizard to set it up properly. Now, I've been trying this one out with one of my repos that isn't too interesting. So I have, hang on. Oops, that's what I did wrong. Here it is. So I have this repo. So I co-wrote a book with my former colleague from GitHub, Phil Hack, GitHub for Dummies. And I'm not actually trying to plug that, though. Feel free to go check it out. But part of that book was to encourage folks to get onto GitHub for the first time. And I didn't want to encourage folks to get onto GitHub to into an open source project and start to disrupt that project when they are just trying to start for the very, very first time. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to create their first pull request, like do their first fork, create their first pull request, make mistakes, like try it out, get feedback, etc. So of course, not everyone's going to want to actually do this. Some people get these kind of for dummies books just as references. But we just kind of wanted to have an opportunity for folks who might have been newer to try this out. So part of the book asks you to go in and create a pull request. And you can see that a few people have created pull requests here to add themselves to the README. And again, we can have kind of conversations on there, and it just kind of creates this safe environment for folks to try things out. So I'll show you how we can start to look at this one. This one's not a super interesting repository in that not a lot of people interact with it, and there's no code on it. It's really just an opportunity for folks to try out some of these features like pull requests. But still, we can kind of start to figure this out, or we can start to look at it. So I might want to install into a new workspace, and this workspace, let's call this my GitHub OG24 stream workspace. All right, you can see I was testing this out earlier too. So this, it says it could take a while. In my experience, it doesn't take too long. So we'll give it a second to try this out. There we go. So this is the one right here. We can go to app here, just like in Azure, you get this pop-up just in case you've navigated away, but you can see it here. Note, one thing to note is that it is coming from, or it is on this kind of apps area, so that's kind of interesting there. So this app allows you to connect your data, explore with sample data, or customize and share to something you specifically are trying to build. Tea sip, 1 second. Okay. In this case, I just want to connect to my data source. So I'm going to click connect, and it's going to invite me to choose a repository. So my repository is from the WeCan zone. That's just my startup that I have. I don't like calling it a startup. It's not a startup. It's just kind of something I do business with. And then you can have this automatically refresh data, which occurs midnight every day. I'm going to delete all these afterwards, so we'll just keep that going. That's fine. And you click connect. Now, what you probably won't see, oh, it will. Okay, cool. So it will have you actually log in. So I can click sign in here. And I think I've already signed in recently, so yeah, perfect. It did have me actually sign in with my 2FA, so that was really cool. The first time I did it, but now I've already logged in. So when we do this, we can start to see the actual data from my app or from my repository, which is pretty cool. So it's still refreshing, I believe. We do have open pull requests. Go ahead and I definitely have open pull requests. Why are you saying I do not? We can drill down into that because we do have 6 open pull requests, so we should be able to see those. Good morning, everyone. Let's see, morning, if this is my 4 p.m., so y'all must be in maybe Australia, I wonder. So we do have some. Let's see, we'll dive into this. Here we go. So from this area here, you can do this drop down of report, which is exactly what you're seeing over here. I just wanted to make sure you knew how we got there. You didn't have to click on this tile here to get there. I could have also just gone down to report and clicked on pull requests. So I just wanted y'all to know where that was coming from. Okay, so that's what it was. This week we haven't had any. That makes sense. So I didn't realize that was what it was pulling in. This month though, we did have 2. We had 10 in the prior 12 months. It does say still that there are no open ones, which is kind of interesting. I think that's incorrect. This was, if I remember right, a beta of this feature of the app for integrating GitHub, but you can, like I said, you can start to see some of the features. So you can see that this user here had 3 pull requests, and that was someone who was exploring for the first time and trying to figure out the right ways to do a pull request, which was super, super awesome. So they had a couple of different pull requests there. We can start to see like most people only have 1. If you were actually running a larger open source project, that's probably even more interesting to see, like, do a lot of people do 1? Do some people do a lot of them? And that might be a very fast way to kind of get that data. Again, we can start to look at contributor commits and like how big the commits were and how much they contributed to this repository. We can start to look at traffic. So it looks like I had a lot of views on the 20th, which is kind of interesting. Oh, but only 3 unique views. So someone, maybe it was me, kept going back to it. Normally, though, you can see it's a pretty quiet area here. So yeah, so you can start to see all of this kind of dashboard and such. I was kind of curious if I could do this with another one, so I wonder if you'll bear with me. I think we can edit the app and perhaps make changes here. For example, kind of like bringing in a different data set, settings, and yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. Anyway, so we already have this data set, so let's leave that one as is. But what we could do is create another one. Let's create another workspace that's a brand new one. And we'll call this VS Code. Oh, whoa, where'd you go? VS Code workspace. I don't know if I can do this. I'm curious. I kind of, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do this because I'd have to give authorization to Microsoft to get into there. So it has to be one that you have authorization for. Okay. So we're going to skip that. I was going to try to bring VS Code in, but you could do something similar. For example, if you forked this VS Code repo, no, because you'd still need to have the backend data. Okay. Anyways, sorry, tangent. I should have gone on a tangent. My point is that Power BI offers these apps or kind of extensions to bring in data that you might be more familiar with. So let's go into what we were going to do before. Let me go back to my home. Things seem to be working okay over there too, so that's good. And let's go back to GitHub. Oh, I didn't want to go to GitHub August 24th stream. August 24th stream. That's the one I think I want to go into. Perfect. August 24th stream. That's where we were. So like I said, as I was doing that, I saw that. But the other thing that I found was you can connect up to Azure in different ways here. So as we saw over here, you can connect up to the Azure SQL database. You can also connect up to an Azure backup, Azure DevOps. I'm assuming Azure DevOps is going to be very similar to the GitHub one. It looks like this company HelpShift has a few different things. I'm not sure what those are. But the Azure Cognitive Search one is the one that I want to do today. So rather than just show you, oh, here's a database, and then, yes, of course, it's an Azure database, but it's really just a database that you can bring into Power BI, I wanted to show you something that is a little bit more unique to Azure, which is cognitive search. So if you're not familiar with Azure Cognitive Search, let's go ahead and Azure Cognitive Search. Here we go. So azure.microsoft.com/services/search. And basically what it allows you to do is bring in some the ability to search for things. So if you have a bunch of data, and then you can quickly bring in AI into your search queries for your customers. So it's using a lot of the same stuff that Bing and Office uses. It's basically using cognitive services, AI, text analytics, and such, but in specifically to a search database, or searching through a database of data. So we're going to build something very simple with Azure Cognitive Search today, and then we're going to integrate it into here to be able to quickly bring in the search results. So basically what people are searching for, how fast it was, like all of that kind of thing. Into Power BI so we can visualize it. Cool. So we'll get it now, just like we did before. Thank you for those links, Megan. What are you all drinking while watching the stream? I am drinking a tea that's got a black English breakfast bag and a mint medley bag. It's one of my favorite combinations. It allows me to drink black tea without any sugar or milk, which maybe is blasphemous for some people, but basically I wanted something where I could just grab hot water in a bag and be decently fine. So yeah, we did that. I didn't want this one. Yeah, no, I wanted, it's kind of weird. I think there's something weird going on, but that's okay. August 24th. Search. Cool. Okay. So that's going to bring in the app to our Power BI. In addition to my decent tea, I also have these really delicious donut holes that are cinnamon, and they're just like the best. Just in case you wanted to know. All right. So from here, we can connect up our data. And when we want to connect up our data, we'll need to provide a storage account and then the number of days of data that we want to query. Advanced, again, is just if we want to automatically refresh. Now, I don't have a storage account yet because we haven't done this yet, but basically it is the storage account that you use for Azure Cognitive Search Logs and Metrics. Okay, so since I don't have that quite yet, we can go ahead and choose this one. I think this one is just like the demo one. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, so anyways, we already have demo data in here. That was just a demo like fill in. We already have demo data in here, so we can start to see what it's like, and then we'll actually go create ours and see what that's like. But let's go ahead and take a look at this demo data to start with. So it looks like there were 362 searches today. It looks like this demo is of searches about animal types or animals. So we can see that huskies are searched quite a bit, which kind of makes sense up here. I know that like the mascot for UW Seattle is University of Washington Seattle is the Huskies, if I think I remember right. Hello to Toronto, welcome. And also kind of these are often dogs that are here in this area. I have a golden retriever and a King Charles Cavalier, so people aren't looking for those up here. We can see that 0 result search queries. Folks who are searching for cat or cats are coming up with 0 results. So this must be a search engine for dog types, and people might be just kind of searching for cats. The most common are actually collies, so border collies, which is surprising. Husky looked larger. Oh, I wonder if it's included. So collie is, oh, sorry, this is today and this is overtime. Cool. So we can see maybe that huskies are a little bit more popular now, but over time, collies are more popular. Again, we can start to look at searches per index over time. So they're growing, more people are searching, documents returned over time. So this is just basically how many things are being returned. I mean, this is all just kind of like general data about what's going on. But again, if we wanted to connect our own data, we need an Azure storage account that we use with our Azure Cognitive Search Logs and Metrics. So let's get into that. This is where we're going to jump into Azure. So here's my Azure account. I'm just going to be using a pay-as-you-go subscription. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a new resource. All right. And this is the Cognitive Search resource. Here we go. And again, this is basically bringing in AI capabilities to enrich the type of search that you're providing for those. I don't know. I've been trying to actually find where this sample data is coming from. I don't actually know where this sample data is coming from. So if you all know, let me know. But I don't know where this sample data is coming from. I would like to know as well. But I'll know where this next sample data is coming from because we're just going to make it right now. So, well, let's go ahead and create this. And I'm just going to use my pay-as-you-go subscription. I do already have an August 24th stream resource group. I like to have all of my stuff in one resource group because then it just makes it easy to make sure that I delete everything that I created for that day, especially if you're doing demos or just trying things out. I highly, highly, highly recommend creating a resource group for each individual item like that. My instance details. So enter a service name. Let's just call this like OG24 hotels because we're going to do some hotel searches. Oh, this, I forgot, all lowercase. And we'll go ahead and choose West US 2. Make sure you pay attention to this because when we create our storage account, we're going to want to make sure that it's the same location. We'll go ahead and create here and create. All right, and the deployment is done. Great. So now we have this search service available to us, and we'll be able to find it at August 24 hotels search.windows.net. We have a subscription ID, we have our keys, all of the good stuff. Over here in metrics, there shouldn't be anything yet because this isn't connected to anything yet. But once we kind of get there, we'll be able to start to search for things. So for example, some basic metrics that we might have are the latency, the search queries per second, how many, or the percentage of search queries that are throttled. You can also have other metric namespaces. That's something beyond. So aka.ms/metric namespaces. This is for groups of metrics that you want to kind of like put together. We're just going to use the basic standard ones, search service standard ones for today. But we don't have anything right now. So if we like did search latency, there's just absolutely nothing there, which makes sense. For logs, I don't have any logs yet, obviously, but again, if you wanted to start logging things, if you were doing it through APIs, you could run this log. And again, there's no logs that are being run. We don't have anything. This is just a service that exists by itself. But that's how you could get into it. Oops. All right. So next we need to actually connect up an app to the service. The page that I am currently at right now, this is at portal.azure.com. And what I did was I created an Azure Cognitive Search resource. And that's what I'm doing right now. And actually, that's a great question, though. Just so you know, we do actually have resources available. They're going to be at aka.ms/Reactor Resources August 2020. And if you go there, resources for our streams are there. So if you ever get stuck or lost, you can check those out. All right. So if you've ever been watching any of my other streams, you know that I like Python and I like VS Code and I like Jupyter Notebooks running Python in VS Code. It's my favorite. So we're going to jump into a Visual Studio Code environment or editor with a Jupyter Notebooks environment already ready to go. If you've never done this before, that's where you're going to want to, let's see, let me jump onto here real quick. If this is new to you, then I highly recommend checking out some of our earlier data science and machine learning bits. So we've got a setup. So inside of, so if this is the Reactors repo, github.com/Microsoft/Reactors, inside of the online event resources, we've got this data science and machine learning folder, and we've got some data science basics in here. And that includes the setup doc that has Visual Studio Code, the Python for your operating system, and then the Jupyter package for VS Code. So you'll want to install like all of the things with Anaconda, and then go and install Python there. And once you do all of those things, then you'll be able to run Jupyter Notebooks inside of VS Code. We also have some videos on it. You can check those out at the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. All right, so we're in Visual Studio Code, and I already have my Anaconda environment set up, and I already have Python installed and the Python extension installed. You can see that here, Python extension installed. And now what I'm going to do is start building a simple example for checking out our or using our search resource. So the first thing that we're going to do is import a few things. So we need to import JSON, JSON. We need to import requests. This is for the HTTP requests that we're going to be formulating. And also pprint. So from, okay. So let's just go ahead and make sure that those run. Perfect. The next thing that we're going to do is set up our endpoint, API version, and our headers. So this is for the Azure Search API. And you can see on here this, well, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try this out. Hopefully my bandwidth doesn't get messed up here. So I'm gonna ping Megan the link. But we're basically just using the, oops, sorry, that's not the right link, Megan. Not the right link. I didn't mean to do that one. Anyways, it's the Azure Cognitive Search API. Here we go. Here's what we want. Should be this one here. So yeah, we're just using the Azure Cognitive Search API. Sorry, I was showing this. All right, so now we will, what we need from this are three things. We need the endpoint, we need the API key, and we need the API version. Okay, so our endpoint, that's going to be easy. That's just the URL that is on our service. So this URL right here from our service, we're going to grab that and we're going to paste it in right here. Just make sure you have an ending slash because we are going to add in the query to it. So make sure you do that. The next thing that we're going to do is specify the API version. And in this case, we're going to use the most recent version. And we're also going to specify the header. And here we've got the content type, which as we know is going to be JSON. I always want to say that word. I like want to call it JSON, but also I want to call it JSON. JSON. I think we had this conversation last stream. And then we're also going to specify our API key. And this is found also on the okay, I'm going to close out Teams again just in case. So on the resource on Azure. So I'm going to grab this, grab that. And again, don't ever share those out. I'm doing that. Oh, sorry, I didn't show you where I was grabbing that. Don't ever share these out. I'm going to delete this right afterwards, but it's best not to share those out. So I went to keys and I copied that. And now we're going to head back over here into our code and paste it in. All right, so now we have our endpoint, API version, and our headers. So let's make sure that runs okay. Perfect. If for some reason at this point you do get a connection error, likely what is happening is you either didn't add in this because when you copy it from Azure, it doesn't include that final slash. So it might be that's what happened to me earlier, or it might be that you're using the wrong key. Again, you do not want to be using your subscription key, which is the one that's on, or your subscription ID, which is the one that's on overview. You want to use your API keys, which is the one that's under keys. So just be very aware of that. All right. I call it Mark. I love it. All right, I'm going to call it Mark from now on. That'll get really, really confusing. That's great, though. I love it. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to create our URL, which includes our endpoint and our API version and all of that. We're going to create a response and basically just make sure we know what we've got going on here. All right, so this is basically what we're going to do. Sorry, this is basically what we're going to use to request targets that we're going to, our search service should be using. Okay, so we'll create our URL. It's basically our endpoint. And our API version. And our response is request. Oh, hi, Mark. Am I missing the question mark? No, I think I have the question mark in the API version, don't I? Question mark API version. I think it's there. Requests. So this is getting from the URL, and we're passing in the headers. And then getting the response and printing it out. All right. Perfect. All right. So this is basically where we're getting it from. All right. All right. We don't have anything in there. There's nothing in here to give us a response, right? So if we send in a search, we're not going to get anything out of it. Oh yeah, if it didn't work, you're probably forgetting the slash. Yes, you might have also forgotten the question mark for API. Thank you. So if you don't have anything in this value right here, then it means that you don't have anything to search through yet, which we don't. We just created our search service and there's nothing there. So that makes a lot of sense. So let's go ahead and create an index, which is what we need to do in order to load in data and be able to do some kind of searches. Okay, so this one I'm actually going to do some copying and pasting. What we're grabbing here, because this is a lot to write, let me actually zoom out a little bit so we can kind of see. What we're grabbing here is that this is the hotel's quick start for the Azure Cognitive Search service. And we are specifying the following fields. We have a hotel ID, hotel name, description, category. I don't know what description FR is. Tags, whether parking is included, the last renovation date, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can see in here that they each have a certain type. So for example, hotel ID is a string, while last renovation date is a date time offset, and whether parking is included is a Boolean. Hotel ID is the key, and the rest of these are searchable. So we can search through these fields. Filterable, whether they can be filtered out, and sortable is whether they can be sorted, and face tableable analyzer. So these are all just kind of like extra bits here. We're not going to get into all of the details of that right now because we're trying to get back to Power BI eventually. So then in another cell, what we're going to do is do a post request to target the indices collection that we're creating. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. So that's our index schema. And now we're going to create another URL. And again, we're going to grab our endpoint, and these are for indexes and API version. And then our response this time, we're going to request sorry, we're going to get the response back. But what we're doing is we're actually posting to the URL. We got to send in our headers to make sure that we have access with our key. But we're going to post to this URL our index schema. And that's the one we just created, right? And then again, from there, we're going to save in the response and we're going to print it out. So now we should actually see something here. Oops, what did I do wrong? Request. There we go. Forgot the S. Oh, what did I do wrong now? What? Max tries exceeded. What? I just did this. What's going on? Oh, that's weird. I have not seen that one before. Let's refresh my... I'm just going back over here. That seems really strange because I just created this. I don't see why I would have that. Yeah, but like also just made it, right? Like we just made this one. That's not good. Oh, this is sadness. As in Max that Max tries exceeded with the URL for that specific API. Oh gosh darn it. No. Oh, this is frustrating. Did I exceed my I mean, it could be someone is using mine, but I don't think... Was endpoint misspelled? I think what's happening... Endpoint. No, I think that's right. I think what's happening is, because I'm using the same, or I'm calling the same API. Because it's... Okay, I mean, I'll try this. We'll double check that no one is using mine. I mean, that's totally possible. So let me... Oh, this is such sadness. All right, I'm deleting off screen. I'm deleting my search and I'm going to create a new one and not show you all my stuff. And I really don't think it's someone. I'm just going to create a new resource group. Part 2. And let's call this, okay. Create. Luckily, this usually goes pretty fast. Okay, go to resource. All right, now I'm not going to show you all my URL. At least I'm going to try not to. So let me do a few things. So I'm going to pull out that and I'm going to do that. And we can take a look at that and do that. All right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to be such sadness. I'm not going to have such sadness. I'm going to be such sadness. If this doesn't work. All right, let's grab this. I'm going to grab my keys, copy, head back over, paste, and let's go ahead and rerun. I'm going to restart my Python kernel. I did write endpoint. Oh my gosh, you all are so right. Oh, you keep saying that and I keep ignoring you. I wrote it twice. How did I write endpoint twice? Wow. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Cool. Which is why it didn't make sense because it was using a different URL, which then makes sense why that one was messed up because I did use that one a lot. Okay. Y'all are right. Sorry I wasn't listening. I'm refreshing my kernel real quick and yeah, it was earlier. That's why you said previously. I was like, what? No, it's totally right. Thank you. I appreciate that. I can't believe I wrote it wrong twice. That's really funny. Yes, I want to restart the kernel. Thank you. Okay. So let me just rerun these real quick. Should be fast. And it looks like it's working now. So let me, yay. Okay. Sorry. Thanks, y'all. You were totally right. So where I misspelled it was up here. End point. I wrote end point twice up there. So anyways, okay, so now we can actually see that we do have this index here that has all of these fields and has all of the things to be able to allow us to search. Sweet. Okay, thanks everyone. I appreciate your help. Oops, I don't, no, go away. Okay, so now what we're going to do is load in data. Right. And so this is essentially just a bunch of hotels. So again, I'm going to do some copying and pasting here, but I've got a bunch of hotels here. And so you can see like this is hotel number 4. Its name is Sublime Cliff Hotel. It's got a description. Oh, that's what FR was. It was description in French. So there it is. The category, tags, whether parking is included. We can see all of these things. Cool. So we're just saving this as a big, huge JSON mark object. We're going to run that and save that. Or now we've got that saved into a variable called documents. Awesome. All right. From there, we're going to post this as well to our search. So URL equals endpoint plus, in this case, we're going to do indexes, and let's call this hotels quick start. Cool. And we will pass in our API version. Awesome. And then we are going to do a post. Pass in our headers as you do in our documents. Document. Now I'm all paranoid about misspellings with an S. That's what I thought. And then we're going to grab the content from this. And we're going to print it. Awesome. Let's go ahead and run that. Oh my gosh. It has an S. Oh my gosh. Spelling is difficult. There we go. All right. Nice. All right. So we've got all of this stuff up there. I said a lot of hotels. There's 4 of them. That's okay. And then we're actually going to search something. Finally. Yay. So let's create a search string. So in this case, again, we need to assume that we're doing like an HTTP call. So we're going to pass in a search, and then we're going to pass in the query. We're going to create our endpoint. And you know what? Okay. We don't need to retype this every single time. Let's go ahead. Oops. I mean, it's essentially the same thing here, except we don't want to go into the index, and we don't want to send documents. We want to send our search string, right? And let's just call this query instead, just to be consistent with what we're doing, so it doesn't get confusing with variable names. Cool. Awesome. So we'll do a search string. No. What did I do wrong? Power BI demo, search windows, index, quick search. Oh, what did I do? Did I do something wrong again? I have endpoint. Oh, no. Oh, was I getting this wrong as well? How silly of me. I mean, so I've got this one up here, endpoint. I reran those. Power BI demo. Is this because, no. Hotels quick start. Yeah, okay, Power BI demo is mine. That's right. Did I ignore that error? This one's fine. That worked. This is all my stuff. Endpoint. All right, let me go into my Power BI demo here and go into what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? So let's go into overview, indexes. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I forgot I needed to share this with you. I have to put it back. Oh gosh, go away. Okay, let me bring this back over here. So I just went back to my overview and I went to indexes, and here's my hotels quick start. There's my request URL. That looks fine. It's got 4 documents in it. That looks right. Is this... All right, what did I do wrong? So I sent in my documents. That was right. Error code. No HTTP resource was found that matches the request URI. Let's try different. Search string, endpoint. That all looks correct. Let's go ahead and just try a different search string. So let's do this right here. So we're going to search through hotels. We're going to check for Wi-Fi. And we want to get the hotel ID and name. Let's see if this works. Oh, y'all, that's what was wrong. I needed to add in our search string after our API version. That's what I get for copying and pasting. See, that's what happens. Okay, let's try this. No, that still didn't work. What happened? What? Okay, let's grab our, like, this should just return all the things. Why are you not working? We're passing in our search string to our, we're creating a URL that includes the API version and the search string. And we're totally passing in what? This was working like minutes ago. Docs, API version. Sorry, let me. It looks like I have an extra curly. No, there's. Okay. Indexes. Hotel quick start. Docs, API version, and search, and for count. That looks right. What's wrong? What is the matter? Let's try pasting it in here. Let's try this. Yeah, the space does feel weird. You're right. I agree with that. Why does the space feel weird? I think it's because it's hotels. No, search through hotels. Wi-Fi. Hotels ID. Here, let's go ahead and try a different one. How about that? Because that does feel weird. But also, it totally worked for me earlier. So let's search on pool, order by address. So we're just going to search to see the ones that have a pool. We're going to order by address and get the hotel ID, name, and address and city. What is happening? I do not understand. This was like, I literally did this minutes before, as you could see earlier. Anyways, we're almost out of time. So let me just show you real quick on here, which we are on the browser. So I did do that earlier. Oh no, when I deleted it. Well, that's wonderful. In any case, okay, we're almost out of time. So let me just go back to the resource. What you would do next is your metrics would be collected magically. Whenever you did a search, it would appear here. And so that's all fine and dandy, except now we do need to actually store this somewhere, right? And we need to be able to access it from Power BI. So in order to do that, what we need to do is create another resource, and we're going to call this is going to be a storage account. And I did not mean to do that. Cool. So we're going to create a storage account, and we want to make sure that this storage account is on the same, oh gosh, August 24th stream. That was the one I did, right? Oh gosh. Lord. This is what happens when you demo things earlier in the same day and then don't delete the entire resource group. I think it was this one, but let me just triple check. Power BI demo. And it's on, yeah, August 24th, part 2. Cool. This one. And we want to call this, let's just call it, and Power BI demo 24. And then we want to make sure it's on West US 2, just like our Power BI demo is. And we can have it be standard, and that's all fine. So let's go ahead and recreate and create. All right, so once this is done, again, that should have worked. I need more brain power to figure out why this isn't working. It should have 100% worked. But in any case, we saw that index existed. We saw that the documents were there. Once you start to make searches on there, you'll start to see those searches appear over here on the metrics. And you can start to do like a simple like latency metric tracking, or you can do something else. We do, then you can add in logging to your code to add additional information. So now we've got this storage account, and basically, we only have like a tiny bit of time left. You can come into here and we set up a diagnostic settings like pipeline essentially. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send all of our metrics and logs, and we're going to send this. This is like our Power BI demo diagnostic setting, and we're going to archive it to a storage account. And I'm going to choose that one. That's the one that I want. If you had multiple storage accounts, you could add them there. I know, seriously, run it again on a non-Monday. Notice that it'll retain forever, essentially, if you leave it at 0. If you only want it to retain data for a short amount of time, you can change that there. Okay, great. So once you have that set up, you can click Save Here. Awesome. And basically the next step, which I have to end now, but the next step is all you have to do is connect your data here, and you just paste in your storage account, Power BI demo 24, and then you have to put in your keys and all that, and then it just kind of refreshes, and it's going to take like 5 to 10 minutes to refresh, so I don't have time to do that, but you essentially just have to change your data by clicking on Connect Data here. So what we did today was we created a workspace on Power BI. We added the Azure Cognitive Search Report app to that workspace. Then we went into Azure and we created a Azure Cognitive Search Service. Then we opened up Visual Studio Code and we just did a simple app, or not really app, sorry. We did a simple Jupyter notebook that in theory allowed you to do search queries on some simple data that we just uploaded to it. Then we created a storage account to save all of our data. We told our search service to save our data to that storage account. And then we basically just change our Power BI workspace and app to point to our storage account. And that's what we did. So yeah, as a reminder, we do have, oh my gosh, I just started Unity on accident. Unity and OBS look the same on the desktop. We do have these resources available for you at aka.ms/reactor resources August 2020. Oh gosh darn it, I did the wrong survey again. Megan, would you mind please putting in the right survey link? These videos will be up on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. There's a correct survey link that Megan will paste into the chat window and we'll make sure is corrected on the description of the YouTube video. And if you wouldn't mind giving us some feedback, we'd appreciate it. For this one, the code is 7849. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.